All right, so today I'm going to start actually making the first real CRM feature. Um, so with this, we're going to be able to add a account and use that account to pull in emails via IMAP. So that's what we're going to work through. All right. Um, so right now we can't really add any um, so we're going to add an email account and also a email uh, model, and that will be able to store your credentials and then store the actual emails themselves. Um, so we're just going to do the kind of the basics of things for today. There's going to be a ton of stuff built on top of this for processing it, attaching it to contacts, and that kind of stuff. But for today, we just want to pull in the plain text email that we've been sent. So for this, we are going to want to add net IMAP, and that's actually going to let us do stuff with IMAP. And we're also going to need to create a few models. So we're going to do Rails G model. So we're going to do an email account, and a account is going to need a username, which is going to be your email address most likely, a password. It is going to be connected to a server, so that's going to be your URL and port. Just be an integer. Okay, and this is going to be associated with a membership. And that's because I would be able to add multiple email addresses onto the account, and those would come in as me. But and the reason why we attach it to the membership, not the user account itself, is because if an employee is fired, for example, you would disable their membership account, but we would still keep those credentials. They'd still be associated with that. So let me think, is there anything else that we need to do on that? All right, so we have a username, a password, a URL, a port, and the user that is associated with. No, I think that's good. So we'll start that up. Let's just check some of these things. Sure. Spec. We'll remove this. This belongs to membership. That's good. We'll be coming back to this because we want to encrypt all that information. So username, no, false. That's going to be true kind of across the board. Can't have a username, can't have a password. Okay, that all looks good. Those are strings. That supports integer. That's connected to a membership. All right, cool. So we're also going to have a email. This is going to be email account. The microphone is right in front of that section. Email account, that's going to be references. So each email that we pull is going to have a UID, and that is how it's uniquely identified in the other system. I'm going to get to, from as strings, and to, from, and plain text, which is going to be text. just for getting started, I'm going to keep some of these. I'm going to keep these just as plain text, but we're going to want to actually encrypt them for real because, yeah, we don't want that stuff leaking out. Okay, so let's make that, and we can remove that spec, and so email account UID. This again is going to be null false. Two. Oh, those can't be. Well, I guess content could be blank. So I guess that could be nil. That'd be weird. Well, we'll leave it as is for now. We'll make it null false. We'll have to see if. Well, the body of it's going to at least be blank string, I suppose. All right. Rails DB migrate. All right. I'm going to Rails C into here for a sec, and let's go check membership dot first. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to make a email account create, and my email for this is going to be johnbca@gmail.com. Password on this is going to be password. This is going to give me a authentication error. The URL for this is, and let me check my notes for that. This is imap.googlemail.com. The port is 993. And the membership is membership.first. Unknown attribute email. Because it's username and password. So username. Beautiful. Okay. So that works. What I want to be doing is, I don't know what to call this right now, but we'll call this email importer. And this is going to require, so I'm just going to kind of slap something together just as a way of getting started with this, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to require net/IMAP. I can make a class called IMAP importer. So this is going to be working with a email account. Okay, so so in here we're going to have a IMAP connection that we're kind of going to want to use throughout the whole thing. So with this, we want to do net IMAP.new. And this is going to be using email account.url and email account.port. And then we want to use TLS, so we'll just say that's true. And actually, So that looks good. Okay. I'm just thinking how do I want to structure this. Okay, that's probably all right to start off with. And so what I want to be able to do in here is do IMAP importer dot new, and this will be email account. And really, we want to do something like importer dot import. So what the importer is going to do is auth so when you so we can, and I'm not sure I want to do this for certain. We can get folder list, and in here we could get new emails, and we can't check, we don't know for the new. We can do get emails, and then when we get the emails, import if new. That's the gist of what we're looking to do. So we can do IMAP dot authenticate, and this is going to be doing plain authentication. So with Gmail, you can do a OAuth authentication, which would be better. No denying that. But the problem with the OAuth authentication is that you need to go through a whole process with them. This is just using IMAP, so it's going to be using app-specific passwords, and there's a lot less stuff involved there. So and the big problem with the OAuth stuff is I actually have to go through a security review, which is like a $10,000 process, which this might surprise you, but I'm not doing today. So with this, we're going to do plain authentication. In here, we're going to do email account dot user name, email account dot password. Right now, this is going to blow up in our face, which is fine. Okay, so we're going to do IMAP. So here, we're actually not going to, if we wanted to get all folders, this is where we could do something like IMAP.list. This will search the root folder. This will list everything that's in the root folder, filtered by everything. So then in here we could go, the way that you switch folders is you do IMAP.examine folder, and then in here you could do searching, etc. For my purposes, I'm actually going to have everything just be fixed to only do a single folder, which is the test folder. That way I don't put all of my emails up on the screen. So by doing that, it's going to basically jump into that one folder, and then I want to search that folder. And in here, you can do a lot of different parameters, and eventually we're going to probably want something a little bit more robust, but for right now I'm just going to do since, and for this so this basically gives you a big array. So each parameter is going to, or each entry in the array is going to then take more things potentially. So in this case, since takes one more parameter, which will be the next one, which will be the date since. If we did something like an all search, then that's going to take no other parameters because it doesn't need anything else. So for this, I'm going to do net IMAP dot format date, and this for now I'm just going to hard code this be date dot yesterday. So everything since yesterday dot each do. So what this is going to give you is so if you look at your folder's contents as an array, this is going to give you back a list of indexes. So if you had put in something where you're actually searching the text, then you might get indices 1, 5, and 10. They call that the sequence ID. So in here, we can now actually fetch the message itself. So that's going to be imap.fetch. And we're going to go and give it the sequence ID, and we're going to tell it what we want to fetch. So we want it to fetch the envelope, which is basically the kind of like the header information and the meta information about the message itself. And we are going to fetch body 1, which obviously is the plain text version of things. So right now that's just the only stuff that we're going to be supporting. So we're going to grab the envelope. So that's going to be accessible like that. So we're going to now create our actual email instance. So for that, we are going to be looking for email dot find or initialize by, and in here we're going to be looking for the UID. So the envelope dot message ID is what we're looking for, and we're going to go we're actually going to skip if the email dot persisted. So what we're doing here is that we're basically going to try to grab there's a few ways that I can handle this. I think I might change this, but for now, the idea behind this is pretty clear, and that's good for now. So the idea behind this is we're going to go into the database and we're going to grab another message that has the same UID. That actually might want to also did I set up an email account for that? Create email accounts, create emails, and it does reference an email account. Okay, I did put that in. So this should never happen. We should not get a UID that that is on two of them, but I suppose you could add an email to multiple accounts, your same email address, and that would pull in multiple things. So yeah, we do want to scope this to say it's anything for the email account. Okay. So in our email account, we're going to search for all emails that have a UID that matches the message ID and try and grab that. And if it already exists, we're just going to bail because we don't need to do anything. We're going to get duplicate import attempts. and we're not interested in updating the emails because they shouldn't be changing. So this is okay for now. Okay, so we did not add a. I'm just checking my notes and actually just noticed that we didn't have a subject. So rail. Let's exit. Rails DB roll back. So we're going to go back to our email. So we have the UID to from and subject. Come on, obviously. Okay, so email.subject is equal to envelope.subject. Email.to is equal to envelope and envelope. This actually, interestingly, when I looked at it, it gives you a weird structure. It's just not a super intuitive 2S type concept. So I need to play with that a little bit more, but so our address dot mailbox is the whatever, it's the whatever at part of things, so that the beginning of it, and then with the host would be the at gmail.com part of things. So for the two, what we're going to do is address to email envelope dot to dot first. This could be multiple. And the from, same thing. And then we could also be handling all this stuff like reply to, etc. But we're just skip over that for now. And for that emails, we did plain text. Email.plain text equals message dot attr body 1 and email dot save. So with this, if we run it multiple times, it should not blow up in our face and just let it all import everything that's in that folder. So right now it's going to blow up because we don't have good credentials. So let's give it a test run. All right, so we are going to do IMAP importer.new email count.first.import. Email importer. Yeah, that would do it. There's no reason why we necessarily have to use IMAP. So that could be something that changes. So yeah. Oh, and we had the example code at the bottom. One thing I've noticed that with the screen the size it is as opposed to normal, because it's at a smaller resolution, lower resolution, is the scrolling is crazy. All right. And there's all the typos. Invalid credentials, like we expected. Perfect. Okay, so I am going to go off screen and yep. Okay, So I'm off screen. I'm going to go into the email accounts table, and my password is password. Yep. So let's update that to my real application password. And all right, with that switched, we can go back to here. And did I not run? I don't think I actually run that migration. Let's run that again. All right. So email importer, new email account, first import. Yep. It's not an example, it's examine. A lot of times I prefer TDDing things, but since everything on this is kind of external, although I probably should build a shim around it or something, but so the message is when you fetch, that sequence ID could be an array. So we actually just need to grab first there. And that looks like it worked. So if we refresh and go to emails, we got email to count 1. The UID is that. From my Gmail to my me. This is a test. Plain text is hello there. Great. If I go over to our mail, we can see this is a test there. So if we do another one, if we do to johnbca@gmail, another test, and that's coming from me. This is another test. So if we do that, and in here we run this again, we should get a new email eventually showing in there. Oh, I did not move it over to that folder. That is why. Let me just all right. So what I just did off screen, all right. So off screen, what I just did is I moved that another test into this folder, and if I run it over here, we get another email added, and it shows up in the database too. Beautiful. Okay. Now, the only other thing that, well, so I think I'm going to stop it there, but one of the things that is definitely a problem with this is that the to and from are completely exposed, etc. If I click onto the email addresses, the username and passwords are exposed. So we definitely want to be encrypting those things to make sure they're not being exposed. If we ever had a database exposed or leaked or anything like that. So that is what we'll be looking to tackle next. But the idea behind this is that you add your email account, and with this, we would set this email importer onto some type of a cron job, and it would just continuously be pulling that in. Actually, sorry, the one thing I'm not doing here is imap.log out. Okay. So yeah. So with this, we could have it create the IMAP connection and just kind of sit there, have a process that's checking that in the background and run continuously. We'll probably set it up on on some type of a cron job or something that will check it periodically to pull that information in. So that's the type of kind of a background process we'd want to be running. And that's kind of what the standard setup would be. And the reason that we do that IMAP logout is that the server actually persists your session. So when I did the IMAP.examine folder, that's actually changing the server side understanding of what I'm doing. So it is a stateful connection. So this frees up the resources for the server. Okay. So my next stuff would be doing the encryption of the information and kind of putting this onto the front end. That way it can be kind of be seen and used there. But that's kind of where I was at for today. Have a great day.